إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في القرآن المجيد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار ثم أما بعد. The Prophet ﷺ was once asked, Ayyul Islami khayr, which could be translated as which Islam is the best, but that sort of implies that there are multiple Islams. That's not a good translation. Ayyul Islami khayr really is which traits of Islam, which qualities and aspects would make me the best of Muslims? What should I implement to be the best of Muslims? That's really a better way to translate it. Ayyul Islami khayr. The Prophet ﷺ said two very simple tasks. تطعم الطعام وتقرأ السلام على من عرفت ومن لم تعرف. The Prophet ﷺ said what? Number one, feed people. تطعم الطعام, feed people. And secondly, تقرأ السلام, say salam, give the salam to people who? من عرفت, those who you know, ومن لم تعرف, those who you don't know. So inshallah in the second khutbah I'll deal with the first part. In terms of the feeding, we'll talk about that in the second khutbah. Let's deal with the second portion right now. Giving people salam. Does it just simply mean to go up to somebody, say Assalamu alaikum and walk away? I believe there is an understanding here, there is an implication here, that you don't just simply say the word salam and walk away, rather you say Assalamu alaikum to those who you know and you don't know, but then it leads to more. Assalamu alaikum, what's your name? How are you? Where are you from? What do you do? Etc. and so on and so forth. And the idea here is what? Create an environment of hospitality. Create a warm and welcoming masjid and community and environment. Be the type of person that goes out of his way to get to know people. This is the quality that the best of Muslims have. If you want to take the best aspects that make you the best of Muslims, what should you do? Be somebody who cares about others. Be somebody who goes out of his way to get to know the names of people. And it's a real problem and a real shame if we have been coming to this masjid for 5, 10, 15 years and there are people that have been standing next to us for 5, 10, 15 years and we still don't know their name. Ayyul Islami khayr. If we want to be the best of Muslims, then all of us should aim high. I mean, this Sahabi is really teaching us a mindset that we don't just ask, is this halal or is this haram? What is the bare minimum I can do? Can I get away with this? Can I get away with that? Unfortunately, these are the type of questions that scholars usually hear nowadays. But at that time, the best of generations, they would ask, how can I be the best? That is the best attitude that you want to have. And then when you implement it, how do you implement it? By saying, okay, I'm going to make sure that after the salah, I go up to somebody. Say, Assalamu alaikum, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. Where are you from? What do you do? This is how a community gets built. This is how, by the way, how businesses start. Oh, really? You specialize in this? I specialize in that. And then people work together. It's called networking. It's very, very useful and important. There are people that teach seminars on just networking and how important it is. This is how marriages take place. You get to know the right people, the right suitors for your daughters and for your sons and your brothers and sisters and so forth. This is how community projects get started. Oh really, you're concerned about that? I'm concerned about that too. We should work together. We should put up a flyer, see who else is interested in such and such a thing. And then community projects take place. It all starts with that salam. We should realize that the Prophet ﷺ said something else that's very powerful. And even in the mindset, even in the way the Prophet ﷺ framed it, you get to learn how to tackle big problems. You get to learn how to break something down, a big lofty goal, and how to make it actionable, how to make it achievable, how to make it something simple and digestible. The Prophet ﷺ says, وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ, I swear by Allah, I swear by him in whose hands my soul is. لا تدخلوا الجنة لا تدخلوا الجنة حتى تؤمنوا. لا تدخلوا الجنة حتى تؤمنوا. You will not enter paradise until you believe. وَلَا تُؤْمِنُوا حَتَّى تَحَابُّوا. And you will not truly be believers, you will not achieve this status of being a believer until you love one another. So you might, till this point, still say, this is very theoretical. Jannah is such a great lofty goal, how can I get there? Well, you have to be a true believer. Being a believer is an abstract idea. How do I get to that? You have to love one another. Love is an abstract concept. How do I achieve love? أَوَلَا أَدُلُّكُمْ عَلَى شَيْءٍ إِذَا فَعَلْتُمُوهُ تَحَابَبْتُمْ. Should I not indicate you, should I not point you to something that if you do it, you will love one another? أَفْشُوا السَّلَامَ بَيْنَكُمْ. Should I not point you to something that if you do it, you will love each other? What should you do? أَفْشُوا السَّلَامَ بَيْنَكُمْ. أَفْشُوا السَّلَامَ بَيْنَكُمْ. Make sure that you spread salam with one another. This is now becoming a very actionable item. You want Jannah, you have to be a believer. You want to be a believer, you have to do what? You have to love each other. How do you develop that love? It starts with a salam. It starts with getting to know each other. It starts with a how are you? It starts with getting to know the people in your community. You get to know certain commonalities. You realize this is a very special person. We like each other. That love develops. There's a very famous quote, or a very famous proverb. أَلْفُ مِيلٍ تَبْدَأُ بِخَطْوَةٍ. In Arabic. In English, it's also a very famous proverb. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Everybody knows this proverb. It's famous in every language. What does this imply? That when you have this big lofty goal ahead of you, you have to break it down and see what is the first actionable item. And the Prophet ﷺ is saying the first actionable item is get to know the faces in your community. Again, I say it is a big shame on us if we are sitting with the same people over and over again, standing shoulder to shoulder in salah, and we don't ask each other's name. This is for those of you who are like, look, just give me the summary. The summary is this: get to know one another. If you want, just give me the short version. The short version is very straightforward. A simple homework assignment for all of us. That after the salah, and in every single salah, make it a habit, make it a point to make salam to the people that you know and to the people that you don't know. Some people would respond and say, you know, it's a nice idea, but I'm not a very social person. I get a little cagey. You know, I'm the type of person I like to stick to myself, and that's just the way I am. To those people, I have a very simple response. Why do you come to the khutbah? Don't you come to learn something? Don't you come to change who you are? Don't you come to be a better person? So don't tell me this is who I am. You came here to learn. And if the khatib says something beneficial and it teaches you a way that your deen, that the wahi from Allah, that the revelation from Allah is teaching you through guidance how to be a better person, don't come back to me and say, well, this is who I am. Change who you are. That's the point. Be a better version of yourself. It's very frustrating when people just come to you with such it's just a wall. No, that's who I am. I'm just, my whole life exists right here. This is all I do. That's it. I'm just me and my phone. That's my whole life. That's as big as my world is, just right there. I can't go beyond that. Break that habit. Change that perspective in life. If you're not the type of person that's more outgoing, become more outgoing. That's what your deen is telling you to be. That's how your deen is teaching you to be. To be the type of person that breaks this fear and learns to get to know people they don't know. I often talk about the importance of da'wah. I often, from this minbar, have spoken so many times about it's our responsibility to call non-Muslims to Islam, to show them the light. Now to do that, in order to do that, there are two qualities that the believer has to have, or two things that the believer has to have. I mean, amongst many other things, but two things that I want to highlight are what? One is you have to have the courage to open that conversation. You have to have the courage to engage somebody and talk to somebody about Islam. Here's my question for you. How are you going to have the courage to talk to a non-Muslim about Islam if you can't even give salam to the people in your own community? Does everybody understand the question? How on earth are you going to be able to talk to a non-Muslim and engage them in such a heavy conversation about God, about afterlife, about purpose of life? These are big questions. And it takes courage to have that conversation. You can start your training by going up to the familiar faces in the masjid and saying, by the way, I don't know your name. Brother, where are you from? Who are you? If you can't develop the courage to give salam to the people around you, then I'm sorry, it's very unlikely that you'll have the courage to convey the message of Islam, which is your responsibility given to you by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's number one. The second quality that you have to have, or the second thing that you have to have, is you have to have a community to introduce this interested non-Muslim to. So, for instance, you introduce a non-Muslim to Islam. You start telling them about Islam as a theory, what we believe, how we practice, and so on and so forth. The theory sounds beautiful. They're very interested in the theory, but they're hesitant. Why are they hesitant? Very obvious reason. Because they haven't seen it in practice. Right? This is very logical, it's very common. And in fact, I have noticed personally that when you go to these conferences like ICNA or ISNA or RIS or and so on and so forth, there's many different Islamic conferences, you will notice that there are so many people that take Shahada. Every 2 minutes the host is standing up and saying, by the way, we have another brother, we have another sister, she'd like to take Shahada, they like to take Shahada, Ashhadu, Ashhadu, Allah, etc., etc. It's beautiful, everybody takbir, Allahu Akbar. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, why is it that here at this conference, so many people are taking Shahada? And I realize, oh, that's why. These people, they learn about the theory, they learn about Islam as an idea and they love it, and it brings them right to the edge. But they're hesitant, they want to jump, they want to become a Muslim. They want to take that final leap, but they're just hesitant. Why? Because they haven't seen the practice. And then guess what? They go to a large conference where they see thousands of Muslims, and now they realize, wow, this is what it looks like in practice, not just in theory. This is what suhbah salihah looks like, good companionship. This is what it looks like when they dress like Muslims, when they pray like Muslims, when they act like Muslims. This is the practice of it. Now I want to accept. So here's my question, going back a few steps. If it is our duty to convey this message of Islam to people, and if we do so, and we say, here's the theory of Islam, and they say, that sounds beautiful, what is our next step? We have to take those people and bring them to our community and say, this is how it's lived practically. But if we are not a community who gives salam to one another, who gets to know one another, who has a community, what are we going to show them? If we bring them and say, hey, come to my masjid, and the masjid is empty, what exactly are we showing them? The answer is nothing. And so they'll say, so what exactly are you telling me? You want me to be a practicing Muslim? Yeah, I want you to be a practicing Muslim. Where are the practicing Muslims? Oh, they're not here. So you want me to be the first? Is that what you're telling me? You want me to be the first practicing Muslim? This is nonsense. It's not practical. We have to develop a community that has a lot of warmth to it. And the way you do that is simply a very simple action item. You give salam to one another, you get to know one another. Now you can easily, now you have the courage to go up and talk to other people, even non-Muslims, about Islam. When they show interest, now you can bring them. I remember many years ago, I used to have, alhamdulillah, back in my home city, we used to have a lot of friends, good group of Muslims, practicing Muslims. At any time somebody was interested in Islam, we could all call each other up and say, hey, we have a guy who's interested, let's all get together. Let's all go to a restaurant. Let's all hang out at somebody's house. We'll all go to this guy's house and swim in his pool and just play around, have a good time. But what was the point? Let him know that now that I've given you the theory of Islam, now this is us hanging out. This is us just having a good time. And when they saw that, alhamdulillah, many people embraced Islam, alhamdulillah. So you need both the theory and the practice. The practice will not happen if we do not become a warm community. And that warm community only can be developed with what? With getting to know one another and spreading the salam. And also having a vibrant masjid. What do I mean by a vibrant masjid? I mean people attending the salawat. There are many people that live around this area and that could easily swing by the masjid before they go to work for Fajr. Or on their way back from work they could come and pray either Dhuhr or Asr or Maghrib depending on when they finish work. Or at night after they've eaten, and now they're spending a little bit of time with the family, they can grab the kids and have some quality time, go to the masjid, pray, and then come back. Develop some beautiful memories with your children. At least pick one salah. At least pick one salah to populate the masjid. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ told us, إِنَّ لِلْمَسْجِدِ أَوْتَادًا. Indeed, the masajid, all the masajid have awtad. What are awtad? They're pegs. Like a tent peg. But the Prophet ﷺ is not talking about the pillars and the walls. The Prophet ﷺ is talking about certain people. Certain people who are like pegs. They are unmovable. What does that mean? That means that they are regular attendees of the salawat. They are people who are like pegs in the masjid. Every time you come to the masjid, you will most likely see them because they regularly attend the salawat. What does the Prophet ﷺ say about these people who are like pegs in the masjid? What does the Prophet ﷺ say? Al-malaikatu julasa'uhum. The angels sit with them. The angels like to be around these people. In ghabu yaftaqidunahum. If they're absent, the angels miss them. Subhanallah, what a beautiful status. The angels actually miss these people. وَإِن مَرِضُوا عَادُوهُمْ. If they get sick, the angels go and visit them. Instead of them coming to the masjid in the house of the angels say, oh, so-and-so is missing. We have to go visit him. Subhanallah. Imagine the status with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that when you become a regular in the masjid, now the angels want to come to see you. وَإِن كَانُوا فِي حَاجَةٍ أَعَانُوهُمْ. And if they have any sort of need, what do? The angels help him in whatever he needs. So you will find that your life has more barakah. There's more blessing in your life. Things get easier for you. Why? Because Allah is putting this goodness in your life, this barakah in your life. For what reason? Because you are a regular attendee of the masjid. Especially to those who live in the area, especially to those who live close by and can do such a thing. The Prophet ﷺ also says what? Al-masjidu baytu kulli taqiyyin. The masjid is the house of everybody who is a taqi, who is a muttaqi, somebody who has taqwa of Allah. If you want to check yourself, how do I know? How do I know I'm a person of taqwa? Ask yourself, do I feel comfortable? Is this masjid like a home for me? Or is it somewhere foreign that I feel awkward and strange in? If the masjid is like your home, if it's like your home away from home, if it's a place that you can relax, if it's a place that sometimes you come here just to think, just to clear your mind, if it's a place that you can just feel good, if it has that comfort for you like your home, then alhamdulillah, according to this hadith, you are indeed a muttaqi, you are somebody of taqwa. Also, in terms of the hadith earlier, the Prophet also mentions, I forgot to mention this last point, Jalisul Masjid ala thalathi khisal, that the person who stays in the masjid has one of three benefits, if not all three. One, akhun mustafadun. Two, kalimatul hikmatin. Or three, rahmatun muntadaratun. That either A, he's gonna, when he comes to the masjid and spends time here, either he's gonna meet a brother that's gonna benefit him. You're gonna meet your brothers in Islam and your sisters in Islam. People that benefit you. If not that, then at least you're going to hear some wise words. Inshallah, there's a dars, there's a halaqah, there's something going on, you're going to hear something beneficial. And if not that, rahmatun muntadaratun. At least you will get mercy that is waiting for you with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In all cases, you will have some benefit if you come to the masjid and be a person who enjoys staying at the masjid and spending time here. And inshallah, so like I said, there was two qualities the Prophet ﷺ said. Ayyul Islami khair, which Islam is the best? The first one was tut'imu at-ta'am. That's what I'm going to talk about inshallah in the second khutbah. And in the first khutbah was afshu salam bainakum, and giving salam, which I dealt with already. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam tasliman kathira. Bismillah walhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa wala amma ba'd. As for the other quality, the two qualities were what? That you give salam, you spread salam to the people you know and you don't know. تَقْرَأُ السَّلَامَ عَلَى مَنْ عَرَفْتَ وَمَنْ لَمْ تَعْرِفْ. That was the first one. Or second, that was the second. Now, in terms of the other one, feeding people, تُطْعِمُ الطَّعَامِ, feeding people. Why did I save this for last? Because alhamdulillah, we have a visitor here today. Sheikh Salah Habib. And alhamdulillah, he is representing here with Islamic Relief. Now let me tell you what's coming up soon. We are in the month of Dhul Qa'dah, and inshallah right after this we have what? Dhul Hijjah. And in the month of Dhul Hijjah we are supposed to either make Hajj if we can, but if not, we are supposed to make what is known as either Qurbani or Udhiyah. What is this Udhiyah? Sorry to get into the fiqh of it, but basically, for those who don't know, this is the slaughtering of an animal. It can be of different sizes, which obviously costs different amounts. So it depends on how much money you want to give and how much you want to pay, whether it be a goat, whether it be sheep, whether it be a cow, a camel, etc. What is the ruling? The ruling is either sunnah mu'akkada, which means a very, very heavily emphasized sunnah that you should absolutely do if you can, or it's wajib. It's necessary, it's an obligation. Those who say it's a sunnah mu'akkada is the jumhur, it's Imam Malik, Imam Shafi'i, and one of the opinions of Imam Ahmad. And those who say it is wajib is Abu Hanifa and Imam al-Awza'i and Layth, Imam Layth. The point to say is this, for those of you who are not too interested in all the details of fiqh, the point is to say this: either you really, really, really should do it, or you have to do it. So it's either one of those two. So what is it? It is to make sure that after you pray Salatul Eid, that you go out right after the Salatul Eid, you have 3 days to slaughter an animal, to take the meat. You can keep 1/3 of it for yourself, 1/3 of it you can distribute to the masses, to your friends and neighbors and so forth, and you have to give 1/3 to the poor, to the masakin, to the poor in your neighborhood. This is the sunnah. And we should do this, why? In order to fulfill the sunnah of actually slaughtering, of actually appreciating the meat that we eat. It's very unfortunate that we are raised in such a way that we think meat just comes from the store. We are so disconnected from death. We don't see animals being killed, we don't bury our own dead, we don't wash our own dead, we've relegated everything to everybody else, so death is not even a reality in our minds. And that's why you see young kids, they take 2 bites and they throw the rest of the meat in the garbage. Because they don't appreciate that this was a living creature that you were able to kill because Allah blessed you with this animal. And you can only slaughter it in the name of Allah. They don't appreciate this fact because they never saw it. We need to become more familiar. We need to do it with our own hands and also take the meat. And another benefit of doing the sunnah of actually going out and feeding people is you get to know the poor people in your area. You get to find out about your own city. Where do the masakeen live? Where do the poor people live? Where are the fuqara? How can I get to know them? Talk to them. Get to know their names. Find out what their needs are. Give them some meat. Bless them. By the permission of Allah. So there's a lot of wisdom in doing it yourself. However, it seems that almost every single scholar agrees that if there is a need in another part of the world that is more dire than right here, then you are allowed to give the money to someone else to do it on your behalf. It's allowed, especially given the fact that there are other people that are more in need. And so with that, things become a lot more simple. Because there are most definitely countries that are much more in need than here. And mashallah, tabarakallah, it takes 2 seconds after the salah. You can open up your phone, go on Google, look up Islamic Relief Qurbani. That's it. You just need to look up 3 words. Islamic Relief Qurbani. You will find a web page. You click on it. You can. The cheapest price, the cheapest animal, is $65. That's really not. I don't think anybody here is going to say, "Oh, that's beyond my capacity." I think every single one of us, especially, it's not on the individual, it's on the family. As the Prophet ﷺ said, Ya ayyuhan nas, inna ala kulli ahli baytin fi kulli aamin udhiyatan. The Prophet ﷺ said, "O people, every family must offer every year at least one udhiyah." So this is in Abu Dawud. It's a Hasan hadith by Al-Albani. So the point to say is what? That there's an authentic hadith. The Prophet ﷺ is telling us we need to do this. And what's beautiful is that, mashallah, Islamic Relief, what they do is they don't just buy the meat here from local farmers and then send the meat. They don't do that. They actually buy it from local farmers. So, what does that mean? That if they go to different poor countries and they ensure that they actually support the economy there by paying the price that they're asking. And then, mashallah, that stimulates the economy and so on and so forth. It's actually good for the country. So they buy the meat from that country and they distribute it in those countries. And you can pick which country you'd like to send to, and they have all the different prices. The point is to say that the cheapest price is $65. You can get it done on your phone 5 minutes after the salah. You just give in your information, done. You can send it off. So we should be the type of people who remember the sacrifice of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Remember that Allah isn't asking us to sacrifice our son. Subhanallah. He is just asking us to sacrifice $65, which is really, subhanAllah, really not too difficult. Once a year. For your whole family, not for individuals. For your whole family. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those who sacrifice for the sake of Allah. We ask Allah to be of those who, when we're tested, we are tested with wealth and they are tested with poverty. So we want to be those who pass our test and help others pass their test by giving them meat, by making them grateful, by making them more patient. So we want to pass our test and help them pass their test as well. So we want to make sure that we give our qurbani or our udhiyah, inshallah ta'ala, this year. You have about 2.5 weeks to do it. I would suggest you do it immediately before you forget, before shaitan makes you forget. We should also remember that these people, a lot of these people who eat meat this once a year, that's the only time they get to taste it. So how beautiful. If they can be making dua for you, they don't even know your name, but they're making dua for you and they're saying, Ya Allah, he or she gave me something beautiful to enjoy on this Yawm al-Eid. That's a great blessing for you and your family. So why not be on the receiving end of all that barakah by simply making such a simple sacrifice, taking you 2 minutes just to press a few buttons and get it done. And if that is not the case, if you don't want to do it on your phone, inshallah, we have the whole booth outside. When you're walking out, you will see the Islamic Relief, all the details. You can ask, inshallah ta'ala, the Shaykh Salah al-Habib, inshallah, will give you all your information. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا شر ما قضيت فإنك تقضي ولا يقضى عليك إنه لا يذل من واليت ولا يعز من عاديت تباركت ربنا وتعاليت ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا وأقم الصلاة.